Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to only the second episode of my new show called The Liberated Sensitive. The subject of this show will always be highly sensitive people. I've constantly in my life run across highly sensitive people because I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm Kim Gilster. I am a life coach, and I have decided that I am going to expressly work with people who are highly sensitive people. But I thought it was a really good idea to have a show that gets down to the brass tacks and really discusses what a highly sensitive person is, and there will be a plethora of things to talk about in future shows as well, all with regard to being a highly sensitive person, how do you cope with being a highly sensitive person, how do you become an empowered highly sensitive person, a liberated, free, sensitive person who doesn't always feel put upon, because being sensitive is a huge challenge. It's also a wonderful gift. And one of my students and my assistant is here with me today, and she joins me on this show pretty often. Her name is Fleur Dubois, and she's also a highly sensitive person. Hello, Fleur.
Hi, Kim.
Fleur?
It's nice to be back again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello.
hear you.
So how are you
Hello.
doing today?
I'm
Hello.
doing very well. I'm doing very well, using the tools you've given me and making progress and just enjoying being a highly sensitive person. Yeah.
Right?
Literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So some people who are listening to the show are probably familiar with a highly sensitive person, or they've heard the term highly sensitive person. I wanted to talk about where it comes from. It comes from a clinical psychologist. Her name is Dr. Elaine Aaron. And if you want to check her out, her website is HSPPERSON. HSP person, basically, but not double T.com. I didn't know how else to come across with that URL. Or you could just, search HSP or highly sensitive person. She normally comes up at the top of the Google search. And I'm really glad that she's, written several books about this in different ways that, she's come forward about this. I actually didn't originally run across it with regard to her. I actually was, getting it in meditation, believe it or not. I just kept hearing highly sensitive people, highly sensitive people. You're a highly sensitive person. Being a highly sensitive person, I often get things that way because as highly sensitive people, one of the traits that we have is we feel everything. And we don't just, we're often most conscious of feeling, the vibes, if you will, of the people that are directly in front of us or at a function or our neighbors or, that sort of thing. But once we develop and start to get certain issues out of the way, we actually are, feeling the collective, if you will. And we can go beyond and beyond and beyond that, believe it or not. So one of the things that she really doesn't discuss, and I would imagine because she's a psychologist, is sort of psychic awareness, I guess people would call it. And that can, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and things of that nature are key traits, actually, of highly sensitive people. And sometimes because of the programs in our head and what we've been told growing up, we're not even aware of it, which can be even more frustrating, right? Because we just think, we just don't understand why. Yeah, I mean, I experienced that a lot growing up. I wasn't completely discouraged about my, senses or my sensory perceptions growing up. My mother, the way that she saw it was she would just say, well, I know God talks to you. So that's the way that I sort of saw certain things. But I did a lot of things. And I didn't understand why other people couldn't do them, or why the majority of people thought it was like so special. And, well, truthfully, in my arrogance in my younger years, I just thought they were stupid. Why can't you see the things that I can see? I don't understand, And yes, I was, that's another trait of a highly sensitive person. Highly sensitive people tend to be so much more aware that we do very well in school, usually. But that can sort of go both ways, because if we're really, really, really sensitive and we're really being beat up upon, for whatever reasons, and, well, it runs the gamut because we're all unique. Some of us can sort of do the opposite, where we do really poorly in school because, our attributes are not recognized by our teachers and our families and things like that. And, I was fortunate because I aligned with a family that at least tried. And being highly sensitive does tend to run in families. So if you look around you, even though maybe somebody else in your family won't own it, or, because society is always, and this is, normal, I guess you could call it, for this to happen, but they don't own it because they're afraid of being called psychic, or, feeling special, or feeling like, they don't fit in. And, well, we often feel that way. And so we try to fit in. I remember times when I would feel like, why can't I just be like everybody else? Why do I have to have this? And I just, nobody understands me. We often feel very alone. And yeah, so anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the other traits. So we're very, very, very deeply feeling. And so being deeply feeling and being very sensitive, feeling the things around us, feeling ourselves so deeply inside, we, have a tendency to beat up on ourselves. Okay? So we're our own worst critics. Also because we feel everybody else, there's this sense of wanting to take care of everybody else, wanting to appease them. And really what that comes from is because we can feel when they feel angry. We can feel what is considered to be, negative feelings and negative emotions. And especially when something's really directed towards us, oh my gosh, it could just feel like the whole world is just shattered, We don't, and we're not given the tools for this, because we're constantly being told, oh, just buck up, be tougher, especially if you're a guy. And by the way, 50% of highly sensitive people are men, or people in male bodies, okay? Being sensitive is not a female or feminine trait, okay? It is a sensitive trait. And that's all there is to that, okay? Because people in male bodies, are more browbeat with having to toughen up and not be weak and all of that sort of thing. They have a tendency to do a better job, I suppose, at making it at least look like they're not really sensitive. But if you live with them, you find out things are much different than, what they're presenting to the outside world as being. But this can also turn around and cause, a highly sensitive person to sort of become more narcissistic, believe it or not. That's a misnomer. I hear a lot of people, so I hear people talk about being an empath, okay? Highly sensitive people are more empathetic. And I think we've pretty much described a lot of that in what I've been talking about here, right? Right. So highly sensitive people are highly empathetic. But sometimes that very empathy actually causes one to become more and more narcissistic because there's a lot of pain, and so there's this idea of protection, right? So we're actually trying, and rightly so, to become more self-centered, right?
Yeah.
And when we think society says to us, being self-centered is bad, so being self-centered is wrong, no, we need to be more self-centered, okay? And what I mean by self-centered in this context is centered on the self, centered in the self, centered into being self-empowered and being self-loving, okay? Yeah. Right. Because when we don't do that, what happens is we're depleted. And we, as sensitives, oh my gosh, like we really wear other people's stuff. And we're oftentimes doing it very unconsciously. And we are not aware of the fact that we're not doing it. And so there's a lot of, it can be ending, and it is a lot of struggle in being a highly sensitive person for many, many reasons. Let's see, what are some of the other traits? So we beat up on ourselves. Going back to the self-centeredness, in spiritual teachings, in religion, in, what people consider to be good, we're constantly getting this message of we, and we, us as a collective, is very important. True. But for people who are not highly sensitive, okay, they need those messages. They need more of those messages, like do unto others and, do things to help others and taking care of others and so forth. Highly sensitive people, we do that. It's a natural part of our character. However we're going about doing it, we automatically really want to do it. Okay? Yeah. Whereas when I look at people who are not highly sensitive, it's not as much of an automatic for them. They need those messages. So what happens is a lot of the messaging that we're getting is on opposite of what we actually need.
Yeah. It's a revelation when I found out this.
Right? Yeah. It's, well, what do you mean? But that's selfish. Well, what do you mean? I've had so many people who come to me and they're saying, Kim, but Kim, that's selfish. Yeah. It is. But it's necessary because we have got to put ourselves first. We have so much to give the world. It's incredible. I mean, the thought of it oftentimes just floors me with the love and what it is that we have to give. But if we don't really work hard on giving it to ourselves first, then all we do is become depleted. What we're giving is really not from the energy that we are capable of. And highly sensitive people are set up that way, more so. Not that the other people can't gain these capacities, and I've seen it as well. They can, they do. It's not, we're not uber special and what have you. But we do tend to be in fields that are creative. We do tend to be in fields that are caring and giving. I mean, I got a lot of clients that are in medical professions, for instance. So, yeah, that's kind of a given. When we go out into the world and more often than not, if we try to just, sort of be like the other people, I mean, we get pummeled. And so it makes us very much feel like a failure, if we're in the wrong positions in our business life. If we're maybe studying, the wrong things at university that really are not conducive to our soul. I mean, we feel our spirit so deep, just on the automatic, but we need to make all of this stuff really conscious and really own it and really learn to work with it. And, people have told me, oh, Kim, you have this huge, big spirit. I've lived in ashram, and even if I'm living in ashram, I learned a lot of really great tools by living in ashram. And for those of you who aren't familiar, that's, like a Hindu monastery, basically. I was what is called the renunciate for a couple of years. And I learned so much from that experience. But a lot of it was still on opposite from what I needed to be doing. A lot of people had a lot of fear of, me, even in that context to an extent, because I had such this great big energy, and my teacher taught me, you need to bring your energy back down around yourself. And I found the opposite to be true. What I did need to do is get out of linear thinking, to get out of any kind of victimhood kind of energy and thinking, and really get into real self-love, and get out of trying to protect myself and trying to protect everybody around me and all of that. I became really great at doing all of those things. I really did. And then I had a relationship with another highly sensitive person. And many, many things about that relationship are great, but it showed me a lot as well, because it was such a wonderful mirroring effect. And it made me seriously start questioning and seriously start looking at myself in ways I never had before. I went through, just a period of time where it was just, very, very dark. Depression, despair, everything in my life just really blew up all at once. And for a while, I very much felt like a victim, because I felt like, well, I did all of the things that God was telling me to do, and I was following all of the, what is dictated is, being a good person, being an unconditionally loving person towards everyone, etc. So why was this happening to me? And the reason it was happening to me is because I didn't have the real self-love that I needed. I didn't have the tools to know how to really take care of myself as a highly sensitive person. And our tools, while much the same, we need to tweak them in different ways. Right, Flo?
Yeah.
Right. And we question the heck out of everything. Part of being a highly sensitive person, right?
Oh, gosh.
And, we'll question things, right, that other people don't. Right?
Oh, gosh, yeah. This morning I was, really worrying about something. I was actually worrying that I was being... was I being unconditionally loving enough to a certain person? That was my anxiety all this morning. That's the type of stuff we worry about. Yeah. And I was
right, it's that whole trope of it being outside of yourself. And then I had to remind you that, well, why were you not worried about, were you being unconditionally loving enough to yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. That's so right.
Right, because, because the only way you could be absolutely unconditionally loving towards the other person is if you're being absolutely unconditionally loving towards yourself, right?
True.
Yeah.
true. Being non-judgmental for myself. It's
Right.
like you have to be able to give yourself the same as you would want to give to others. If you're giving it to others all the time, then it's not working. You're just depleting yourself.
Right. Right. And I recently ran across someone who I said to them, you know, because I know them to be a highly sensitive person, I said, you know, we tend to, because I was talking to them about, you know, what I'm now venturing into and why. And I said, you know, we tend to really beat up on ourselves. And this person looked at me and said, yeah, but it's better than beating up on other people. And isn't that like a highly sensitive person would say something like that?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, you know,
but here's the thing. But here's the thing, and I know this person pretty intimately, and here's the thing is that, and I've done this, when we're beating up on ourselves, we're unconsciously actually beating up on others. And we don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
right? Because
I know.
we start feeling like a victim, we're victimizing ourselves, we're feeling like victims, and pretty soon, you know, oh, this person's negative, or this music's negative, or whatever's negative, and this is causing this for me, and, you know, because we can't, why inside of ourselves, by being up on ourselves, we can't figure out why inside of ourselves that, you know, we're running across this, why we feel so horribly, you know, and invariably, it as a means of survival, we're not just going to continue to beat up on ourselves, even though part of it is to an extent all the time. And we're tough. We are tough. You know, we often, because, you know, we cry with movies more easily, you know, our sense of smell a lot of times is more acute. Our sense, you know, when we hear certain vibrations, certain music and things of that nature, we tend to, you know, be graded by it more easily. So, again, we're constantly told that we're weak. But somebody who's not highly sensitive doesn't understand that, you know what, when you are that sensitive, when you have these things going on, it takes all of your strength to just sort of wake up in the morning and cope and deal. And we have a tendency to become very depressed or have anxiety or both, right?
Actually, I was going to ask you about
know,
that.
being right. Well, like like Dr. Aaron says, you know, there, and I've witnessed this, and this has happened with me too, and also with my clients. I'm a life coach, so I don't deal with mental illness, but I have, to the extent where I will refer people to therapists, and or refer them to seek out a therapist and what sort they may be looking for. And most of the time, they also work with me along with the therapist. If they genuinely have gotten to a point where they do have some sort of mental illness, like clinical depression, anxiety, and things like that, you know. And, yeah, I can spot it. But, I mean, if I just suspect it, I will refer and make sure that they go and they, you know, seek that sort of help to make sure whether, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. What matters is, you know, is that actually what is genuinely occurring. So, yeah, I mean, beating up on yourself causes fear. It causes depression and anxiety. You know, anxiety is fear, which is largely in the mind. And part of what I do is I actually help people and teach them to reprogram the subconscious to where your brain is no longer in charge. And that seems kind of scary to a lot of people. But my tools and my techniques actually work to do that. It's not to say that your brain's not important. It is. But it is tool of your heart, and you can go look over it. Some things from the Heart Math Institute. Some of their research is really good, even though they're not really, I think, really kind of getting the whole big picture about how this works as well systemically. But one of the research studies that I saw that they did was they were trying to figure out, how the energies worked between the heart and the brain. And their primary focus was the heart, right? So what they were doing was they were taking subjects and they were placing them in front of a computer monitor, and they would bring up pictures that, the subject would hit a key on the computer monitor and pictures would come up. And they would have, and these pictures were devised to give them some sort of an emotional reaction. And invariably, every single time they did this, I think it was about 2,000 subjects, every single solitary time, seconds before that picture came up on the screen, the heart reacted to it. And it reacted to it in the way that they would expect it to react given the subject of the picture. Okay?
Yeah.
So that
this is like
alone
some of the
tells
most
me...
exciting research that I've ever heard, because it's to do with the heart, and of course I would think so, being a highly sensitive person.
Right, and that's just, our heart as an organ per se. So the thing is that as a highly sensitive person, we are biologically somehow even more in tune with that than people who are not highly sensitive. That's part of what being highly sensitive basically is. And so for us, we need to learn to, sort of put that heart space in its proper place. It's not like I see a lot of people in spiritual community, and they're just, the heart. They get to a space where they're not even really conscious because they're not incorporating, the brain and all of the rest of the self together with the heart. So everything while we're here in this body on this earth works together as a system. The way that we're being taught to utilize the system is backward. Because we're being taught to put the brain in charge, and the brain is really not capable of as much as the heart, even as an organ, is, even logically.
So you're saying
that's part of the reason why we
to find as a highly sensitive person, to find our balance is different from somebody who's not sensitive, whereas the people who are not so sensitive need more of that awareness of other people and empathy, whereas we need to find balance, we need to find more of ourselves. Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And
they need to find that too.
Yeah.
Right, they need to find that too, but it's just, we're all ultimately headed in, a similar direction, if you will. But it's just
to find balance.
The way to get there is going to be different to find that balance, right? And those ways, there's subtleties to them, right? And that's why it's important that as a highly sensitive person, that you work with someone who understands that you're a highly sensitive person, okay? And more likely is a highly sensitive person, because really it's best for a highly sensitive person to work with another highly sensitive person, is because it can be, because of all the subtleties, it can be very difficult for someone who's not a highly sensitive person to understand a highly sensitive person. And I hear that, because I've been, like I'm in groups on Facebook where, they're called empath groups, or, I've made comments on, one of the plethora of articles about empaths. And I made comments that have said, you can become empowered. This doesn't have to be your lot in life. You don't have to be suffering. You don't always have to feel tired. You don't always have to feel put upon. Okay? And invariably, I always, in the empath people, are very defensive. They get triggered very easily, and that's understandable because they're highly sensitive. Not a criticism towards them.
No, it's just a reality.
But, right, it totally is a reality.
Yeah, it just is.
Right. And the thing is that they don't, it's really hard for them to see because they'll say, you don't understand, Kim. Wow.
Yeah.
and I used to get triggered by that myself, thinking like, well, what do you mean I don't understand? Right. And I understand so well. Yeah, because we used to be where they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when I present to them that they opening up your energy instead of projecting is the way to go, it terrifies them.
It terrified me. It terrified me.
Because it is terrifying. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
At first, until you do it, and then you realize, oh my gosh, this isn't terrifying at all. Quite the opposite. It's absolutely freeing. It's absolutely beautiful. It really puts me in charge. Less and less am I wearing everybody else's stuff. I don't have to do that. I wasn't even aware that I was doing it.
Oh, you sound like all the things I used to say to you. I didn't know I was doing. Yeah, because when I met you, I was protecting a lot because that's what I felt I had to do. I didn't have any other tools.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's actually.
And that's perfectly understandable because that's what we're taught to think that way. We're taught, this is negative, this is positive, and and what that looks very different depending upon, what your cultural background is, what your economic backgrounds are. It just runs the gamut of the variables there. Right?
That's
and
right. And if you're
not supposed to blame.
Yeah. It's true. And if you don't have any other tools, then what other choice do you feel you have other than to protect yourself? Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And there are times still where it's like, okay, there are things that I do that are sort of a form of protection, if you want to call it, but I just know my energy well enough to know that I can just, actually put an energy somewhere, and that sort of like it puts a boundary up. So that's another thing with highly sensitive people. We suck at boundaries.
Yeah.
We're horrible at, oh my God, so it makes it very difficult for us to be around each other, which is another thing that makes us feel alone. And we're not recognizing that the other people are actually highly sensitive people as well. Because we're around, the people who are not, maybe we're around people who are not highly sensitive and maybe they do at least have some boundaries, right? And so that we'll align with that because it makes our life easier to actually be around them in some respects. Okay? Because our boundaries are just so off. Even when we try to form them, or we try to do rigid things, it's just, oh my God, boundaries is a whole different subject. We should have a show on boundaries. We could have a show on each and every one of these topics that we're discussing today.
Yeah.
So now we see why we needed more than the 15 minutes, by the way, for those of you that may have listened in on Tuesday when the show is actually usually occurring. We had a lot of technical difficulties and weren't able to come back till today. Software for you. Let's see. But I wanted to talk, okay, so let's see. What are some of the other traits of highly sensitive people? We tend to be passionate about whatever it is that really turns us on in life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right. I had a full list here because, sometimes we get a little bit, sometimes we're also easily startled. You know, again, this is all, you know, this is all going back to, right? Yeah, I know you're usually startled.
You know what I'm laughing.
I know.
Very easily.
We tend to be more expressive because of that deeply feeling stuff. So we, you know, may cry a lot more easily about things. But something else that I don't see anybody else talking about, I guess because they want to stay in the positive side of things, because there are other people who deal with highly sensitive persons, certainly, but they don't talk about anger. We're also quicker to anger.
Yeah.
Right.
Anger, I've really struggled with anger.
Right. Well, it's okay to be angry. That's the whole thing.
I didn't even know
it's okay all feelings are okay.
Yeah.
And however you would like to. A lot of times what we label as being anger actually is not anger. It's really like our power, but then it ends up emoting as anger. So anger is more of an emotion, and, you know, but belly fire is sort of what I call the feeling. That's what I called it. But in feelings, there's so much going on with feelings that we can hardly find accurate labels for all of them. They're very complex. And, so, but I think part of, or in my experience, and again, everybody experiences these things differently, you know, and I've had clients who've experienced things very differently from me, although the vein and who we are has enough of that similarity that, you know, the same tools work, but in a little bit subtler, different way, when, you know, different people are ready for different things. But, okay, let's talk about the anger some more. But what happens is we have, you know, more of a direct line into what our source energy is, biologically speaking. I believe that it is, biologically speaking. So what happens is that this energy comes up, it wells up inside of us, you know. It does in everybody. But because we're so sensitive and we feel so overwhelmed, that, you know, it expresses out a lot more. And it's sort of like with us more so all of the time. We all have, like, big energy. It's why we're creative. It's why we tend to be the writers of the world. We tend to be the activists of the world. We, you know, I mean, I know so many highly sensitive people that are activists, whether it's with animals or people or, you know, politics and whatnot. And, you know, talking about being badasses, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I've done that in my life as well. Done a lot of different things.
Me too.
Anyway, but this kind of energy, and this is what I want to get at, it's sort of, it's assaulting towards people. And so we get a handle on ourselves again. When we're more accepting of who we really, really are, and, I mean, really, really, really self-loving, there will still be people who are, you know, a bit put off by it. But there are a lot fewer of those people, right? And those people that are really put off by it are people who are just in a great deal of pain, and are people who are extremely self-deprecating. Once, you know, like you're in like a sort of like true alignment with your self-love, like serious self-love. You know, it's just like anything, those people are going to be there. But I have had those people get, you know, a little bit perturbed. You know, it doesn't really affect me so much anymore. You know this, right, about me. But they get that way. They get, you know, and I can, like, hold this love space for them. And, of course, because I practice empathy, not sympathy, which is another subject, right? But what empathy does is it allows the person to feel however they feel, okay, without judgment from you, without any of that, right? Yeah, without you trying to fix it, right?
Yeah, it's that thing that we feel like we want to help people, we want to save people, we want to show them the way, educate them, give them
right,
our
but
time.
We want that so bad, right? Because we're behaving as if everything outside of ourselves, we're allowing everything outside of ourselves to run us.
Yeah.
To make the difference, rather than ourselves inside of ourselves.
Yeah, at first.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that what I wanted to talk about with this is that now I got sidetracked. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a sidetrack queen.
I know. We're still working on that. I used to be like a major sidetrack queen myself. I still have to be conscious of the sidetrack queen because I think that's a highly sensitive trait too. Another one that doesn't get talked about very much in public. Well, because we're like taking in so much stuff all at once, and we can, especially when we're younger, talk about 20 different subjects at the same time and like sort of keep on mark with them, and we need to understand that other people can't keep up with that. I actually used to have a friend where we would do that on purpose. We would sit in a place and have a discussion on 10 different subjects at once, and people would like try to join the conversation and just look at us like, what are you even talking about? They were absolutely confused. Again, in my younger years, I thought that was highly amazing.
But what were you
right?
talking about? Let's get back to that. Yeah.
What were we talking about? We were talking about things outside of ourselves and practicing empathy as opposed to sympathy. So when the people come to you who are perturbed by your self-love, and again, this doesn't come from the space of I'm better than or any of that sort of nonsense or what people would call, which I call egoic, which is not ego. Ego is necessary, self is necessary, but egoic. Okay, so if it's not coming from an egoic space where, because I've seen people do that, oh, that's your trigger, oh, that's, no. This is not what we do. Empathy says, okay, I might even get triggered, right? So I might get triggered by something, and I go, well, okay, thank you for giving that to me, because now I can look at it for myself, and, I say, I'm sorry for your pain, but I'm going to allow you to sort of, like, deal with your pain, and if you want to come to me and you want to talk to it, however that looks, but I make space for that. Sometimes I voice it and sometimes not. Depends upon the situation and what's appropriate and maybe when I consider what the person can hear. But I let them make that decision. What do you need? When my clients come to me, I ask them, what do you want to accomplish? And I actually give you tools because oftentimes people don't even know what they want. Most people don't know what they want. But I give them tools to even figure out what it is that they want.
That's right. Yeah. That's
sort of a thing. Yeah. Because in different situations, I still use those tools sometimes, where it's the tool of figuring out what you don't want in order to figure out what you do want. So always know what we don't want. Always. Right. But, and the more you practice at that one, the more you get, oh, I don't want that. So that's telling me I want this. Okay. And then you don't have to make a list so often, right? I only do one like once a month now, and I used to do them every day. And I'm just, because I was, something that I don't want, and I would write that down. But it's just like everything else, you need to exercise it, and that's why we're called coaches, because coaches help you to exercise these things, like, to get into a space where you start just doing these things automatically. I see a lot of people, and yeah, it's important. It's very important to take care of yourself. But a lot of the things I see, other people putting out for highly sensitive people are things like, well, just don't put yourself around crowds. That can be useful in the beginning, but there are probably going to be situations where we want to be around crowds, or we need to be around a crowd, or, things like that. And so my tools actually give you the ability to be able to do that and not feel so put upon, and not feel so confused, and not feel so exhausted, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So instead of just, because I get this feeling from a lot, and I've seen highly sensitive people who have also developed some of these tools. And I'm not the first person to have run across them, certainly not. As a matter of fact, I know that some masters in China teach some of these things. Some of the tools that I use, I've gained tools sometimes because I just learned them myself, and other times and then I run across it and find, somebody else is using that tool. Or sometimes I actually, go, okay, well, that tool looks good. And what I've done a lot of times, too, is just take some of the tools that are being put out there and tweak them to suit me, and then inadvertently I tweak them to suit other highly sensitive people. Right? Yeah, because this is not something that I just willy-nilly ran across and went like, I'm going to do this highly sensitive thing, and look, I'm a highly sensitive person. And so, no, this has been years and years and years and years and years and years and years of education, experience, training, etc. I am schooled as a scientist, as an anthropologist, and no, anthropology is not what most people think it is. We tend to be experts in a plethora of sciences. We study all human behavior, past and present, okay, in all ways possible. Right, which includes all science, believe it or not. So we have intimate knowledge of all science, and we are experts in at least a handful of sciences. And depending upon where your specialties lie, et cetera, it will depend upon where your expertises lie. So, yeah, I have, so I have a lot of the, intellectual parts of things that, yes, are very necessary in developing yourself and becoming self-empowered and becoming self-aware. I see a lot, and especially young people, a lot of people who say, an education doesn't mean anything. This is generally coming from people who got a very poor education. And that's very unfortunate. And it's very unfortunate the world is. That is one of my pet peeves in life, is, to do something to help to fix the education system, especially in the United States, where I live and I'm from. In some other Western countries, it's a lot better. But most of these people are from the U.S. that say things like that. And they're not completely wrong, in that there are a lot of people who, so there's several things. There is the way things are being taught as very linear, particularly in primary school through high school. And then there's another thing that happens. You have people that oftentimes go to college and they don't fully apply themselves, and many times it's because they don't know how to, or they're just there because they've been told they're supposed to be there, and they have really not too much idea what they're doing there, and they've just been told they need a degree so that they can make money. And, one of my professors used to say all the time, if you're here because you want to make money, leave. majority of people who make most of the money in the world don't have a college education. That's true.
Yeah, we see that. We see that in the media all the time.
Right.
About entrepreneurs that have. Yeah.
Right. So
like
your reason for being, so that your reason for being in school is to actually get an education. So what does that mean? It means a lot of things, and one of them is your ability to seriously, critically think.
Yeah.
To do your best to get rid of your biases, to do your best to, really look for evidence rather than just going with a belief that you were taught. And unfortunately, a lot of, in the United States, our educational system teaches beliefs that are not altogether evidential, right? It's indoctrination of sorts. Oftentimes an indoctrination. I was just so fortunate. I had, throughout my education in primary school, and I was always recognized with my sensitivities. I had a great mom who was very encouraging, who even as a small child saw my potential and very much encouraged it, and all of that. So, and I get, that I had all of that. I had a lot of privilege, but I want it for everybody.
Yeah.
And this idea that, it's just a piece of paper, well, it's poppycock. It could be, or it could be an actual education.
Yeah.
And it's so, so important. Education is a lot of things, and I'm constantly educating myself. I never stop educating myself. That's the nature of expansion. That's the nature of being who we are. So to, say, that, I have this degree, and so, I have enough. A lot of people do that. But, again, a lot of people are doing that because they're working 60 and 70 hours a week. And you know what? They don't have the energy or the time. And, they have children to take care of now and a spouse and, so on and so forth. And so they don't have the time, really.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how do we get, but that's a sidetrack. But education is very, very important. I encourage it for everybody who comes.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about education. I am. I really, really am. I do believe that if the majority of the people in the world were highly, actually, it's not just that I believe it, it's that I've got science to back it. If the majority of the people in the world were highly educated, this would be such a wonderful world. It really, really would be.
What a different world it would be. It really, really would.
So different. Yeah.
And I know that highly sensitive people are just going to get that. Yeah.
Right.
Whether highly sensitive people, did well in school or did not, I know that they know that because they see that.
Right. And because I've been around highly sensitive people who think that as well. And it was because they were left behind in school, because they were sensitive. And unfortunately, most of them were born in male bodies. Because they get treated a lot. If they're men who are highly sensitive are, I think, brutalized even more on the whole than those who are born in female bodies. Because it's an expectation that those born in female bodies are going to be more sensitive. And so it's not as frowned upon, even though we all get in Western societies, well, not all Western societies, but at least in the United States and where you're from, UK, we in our societies have a very, very distinct binary system when it comes to gender. We have a very, very distinct sort of, can-do attitude, and, you have to toughen up and you have to get her done, or, that sort of thing. And this expectation that leaders should be like that. In all actuality, wow, highly sensitive people make awesome, awesome leaders for many reasons. We should have a show on that too. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
I'm busy writing this down, but we only have 5 minutes left, so HSPs as leaders. Let's do that one. HSPs as leaders. Right, because we're awesome. I've always been a leader myself. You know, because again, I was allowed to try. And yeah, I got some of that, like a lot of that stuff and that type of stuff, you know. I mean, basically, you know, my mother's from the South, and, you know, she was, you know, the primary person who raised me. Even though my dad did, he was, you know, he was, how can I put it? He was the one who was, like, less talkative, more introverted. Right. So, and my mom was more extroverted. And, that's another thing I forgot to mention about HSP, highly sensitive people, is we often, more times than not, are shy or seen as shy and timid and things like that as children. I was very shy when I was a very young child. For me, it was mostly because I just, you know, it wasn't so much out of fear as it was out of, I do not understand these people. I do not understand the violence of these children. I do not understand what's going on here. Yeah. I don't know who to speak to. The adults, well, I'm a little child, so I'm, like, not so out of place. But that was also part of what spurred me forward to become more intellectual, if you will. To, you know, I mean, I started reading when I was 1.5 years old. I wanted to be able to speak to adults because there's this part of me that went, I don't know what to do with these children. They just don't really think and feel what I'm thinking. Maybe the adults do. I was sensing some things from them. But anyway, just to wrap things up, because we only have like 2 minutes. We are often labeled. You know, we are actually often labeled as shy or are shy, because some people are legitimately shy when they're children. If you want to call it shy, I don't know. Shy's the whole thing that I could go on about. You know me, behaviors are so interesting. They always have been. I was born an anthropologist, and I was born and put on this earth to help people fall madly in love themselves and become very empowered. And currently I am working with highly sensitive people because I know that, you know what, we are so capable. We have so many gifts. We have so much to give this world, and we're being passed over and we're being neglected. And, you know, that needs to stop. There needs to be more and more of us who are really, really working with highly sensitive people and really empowering that, because, you know, with enough of us empowered, we can really, really change the world and make it a much better place, much better place. But as we suffer, we're doing the opposite, and that's not good. So if you want to learn how to become a highly empowered, highly sensitive person, highly self-loving, highly sensitive person who, you know, can just really come out and truly be you and just feel free, then feel free to visit my website, which is theliberatedsensitive.com, theliberatedsensitive.com, and sign up for your free 15-minute consultation by calling my phone number, which is 626-644-2097. Once again, that's 626-644-2097. The next show is also going to be on a Thursday because I actually have some medical checkup appointments that I need to go to, and unfortunately, the only time that is available to me is on a Tuesday morning, Tuesday the 1st, which is when the next show was supposed to be. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up being here on Thursdays. Go with the flow, right, Fleur?
Right. You never know.
Right. You never know. Anyway, until then, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life. And we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Bye.